Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are at. My name is Jason, and today I'm testing out a new EF 16 to 35mm f4 LIS USM lens. This is a wonderful super wide angle lens that I'm running at 35mm right now. Let's see how it looks like at 16mm. This is 16mm. Now I'm about a foot away from the camera lens and I can do this and extend my arms way out and you can see my entire office studio. It's in view. This is a beautiful, amazing telephoto lens and I'm going to be showing you a couple of pictures. And shortly I'm going to compare this lens to the EFS 10 to 18mm, which is actually a crop sensor lens, and compare how it works on 1080 as well as the 4K video on the EOS R. Here goes. Welcome back. This is the same lens at 16mm but shooting at 4K all-eye. As you may have noticed, there is a significant crop. There is a 1.7 times Canon crop for the EOS R. Not that bad, right? So 16mm times 1.7 would be...
One eternity later.
This would be about 27mm, yeah, in a full frame focal length equivalent. Looks pretty good to me. What do you think? Back again. This, my friends, is the EFS lens. It's a 10 to 18mm f4.5 to 5.6 IS STM lens. Now, this lens is currently shooting at 18mm, right? And we are still on 4K video. Now, what's going to happen if I bring this back to 10mm? Now, did you notice something similar with the 16mm that I had just now? And this is still on 4K video. What does this mean? This means if I were to use a full frame lens, the EF lens on the EOS R, the 4K crop is a 1.7 times magnification, which is a crop factor. However, if I use an EFS lens, a 10 to 18mm lens, I am getting equivalent around 16mm full frame wide angle, right? So at 10mm on the EFS times 1.6 times APS-C crop, 4K on top of that, so the additional 4K 1.7 times crop is no longer in effect. Let me repeat that. On the EF lens, you have a 16mm times 1.7 times 4K crop, but on the EFS lens at 10mm times 1.6 times equivalent to 16mm, there is no longer a further 1.7 times crop for 4K video. I know this seems a bit complicated, but I can tell you an EFS lens on the Canon EOS R is amazing for 4K video. Now, if you want to do 4K video and you don't have a huge budget of a few thousand ringgit to buy an EF lens or EFL lens, the EFS lens is the most budget-friendly lens available in the market today. Now, the EFS lens, there are a few models out there. I prefer the 10 to 18mm because it comes with image stabilization. Now you can put this on a tripod, on a monopod, and you can carry around for vlogging. It is amazing. And you see you can get the 16mm focal length equivalent, 16mm equivalent focal length on the EFS lens. Now, last but not least, I wanted to try on the EF 24-70mm f2.8L version 2 USM lens, just to see how this lens renders in 1080. This is not in 4K, this is 1080 24 frames per second. And I just wanted to see how this lens would render the video image compared to the EF 16-35mm as well as the EF S 10-18mm. Even at 24mm, recording at 1080p, it gives a sufficient wide angle reach. Again, I'm at about 1 feet away from the lens. Looks pretty good. So thank you for watching, and I hope this video gives you an insight of what the super wide angle lens EF 16-35mm lens can do, the EFS 10-18 and the 24-70mm lens. See you again, bye bye!